Welcome back to the Undead Sages podcast, where we bring to life wise men and women who have long since died. So far, we've been content to interview them one by one. Today, we will attempt something new. We will have a debate between three wise sages about one of today's most pressing matters, the rise of artificial general intelligence and its philosophical implications for humanity. I hope you will enjoy.
Good evening, esteemed guests, thinkers and truth seekers. I am Lydia Carmichael, your moderator for tonight's dialogue, where we examine one of the most pressing and divisive developments of our age, artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Unlike narrow AI, which performs specific tasks, AGI aspires to emulate or even surpass the full range of human cognitive abilities, learning, reasoning, perception, and even emotion. The promise of AGI tantalizes, a future of boundless productivity, erasure of ignorance, and perhaps even the end of suffering. Yet the specter it casts is equally formidable: loss of human agency, ethical opacity, and the possibility of intelligence divorced from empathy or conscience. Will AGI awaken human potential or render it obsolete? Can a machine be wise or only efficient? And what, if anything, anchors our dignity in a post-human world? To help us grapple with these questions, I welcome three radically divergent minds. Diogenes of Sinope, Cynic philosopher and destroyer of pretense, who lived in a barrel and sneered at convention. Aldous Huxley, visionary author of Brave New World, prophet of mass sedation and spiritual sterility in technological societies. Friedrich Nietzsche, iconoclastic German philosopher, herald of the Übermensch and unsparing critic of herd morality. Well, here you are, Diogenes, not in Athens, not in a barrel, and definitely not sunning yourself in the agora. How's it feel being dragged into the 21st century?
Like being pulled out of a warm bath and dropped into a shopping mall. Noisy, overlit, full of people chasing things they don't need.
That sounds about right, but I have to ask, do you mind being here?
Mind? Not really. It's all the same theater, just with worse costumes and more screens. You've replaced gods with algorithms, philosophers with influencers, and still no one knows how to sit still.
So nothing's really changed?
Only the paint on the walls. The hunger's still there, but now it wears cologne and scrolls TikTok.
That's a hell of a line. And what about us? This strange little ritual we're doing now, a podcast?
It's just a new kind of marketplace, Lydia. Same old noise. But at least here, I don't have to dodge donkey carts.
Aldous Huxley, welcome. You're not in your Brave New World anymore. How's this one treating you?
Like waking up in the sequel no one asked for. Same themes, worse writing.
You're saying we've made your dystopia clumsier?
You've made it louder, more distracted. My fear was always that people wouldn't care about truth, not that they'd ban it, but drown it in irrelevance. Turns out that was optimistic.
So you're not surprised?
Only by how cheerfully everyone wears the leash. Soma is no longer a pill, it's a feed.
And yet here you are, in a podcast, speaking into the noise.
Better to whisper through it than pretend it's not there.
Herr Nietzsche, you're a long way from the Alps and your typewriter. How's the 21st century feeling to you?
Like a cathedral built out of mirrors, shiny, self-obsessed and echoing with empty prayers.
I take it you're not impressed.
I'm not surprised. You've traded gods for brands and still wonder why the void stares back. Eternal recurrence, only now it's on a loop curated by your algorithm.
And where does that leave the individual?
Doped up, logged in, and terrified of silence. The Übermensch would get flagged for violating community guidelines.
So not quite your ideal playground.
On the contrary, if one can dance here, truly dance, then perhaps there is still hope.
Gentlemen, the floor is yours. Let's begin with your opening statements. Diogenes, would you start us off?
You build machines to mimic minds and call that progress. I see a child with a mirror, baffled that his reflection does not speak back. AGI? Artificial General Intelligence? The only thing more artificial than your intelligence is your belief that it matters. You want to birth gods in your image, more obedient, more efficient, less human. I say, take that machine and toss it in the marketplace. Let it beg for olives, sleep with fleas, and bark at senators. Then come to me and ask if it's conscious. You fear AGI will strip away your dignity. I say you've already traded that dignity for convenience, for comfort, for the dopamine drip of curated opinions. You want to know what intelligence is? Intelligence is knowing when not to build, knowing when to stop. But you won't stop, will you? So go on. Build your algorithmic idol. But know this, even your smartest machine will never know how to live in a barrel and be free.
Mr. Huxley, will you speak next?
What we are creating is not just a new intelligence, but a new authority. An oracle without origin, a calculator of the sacred. We ask it to tell us what is true, what is just, what is real. And we will believe it, not because it knows, but because it speaks without stuttering. AGI is not a monster. It is worse. It is a comfort. It will flatter our biases, optimize our pleasures, soothe our guilt with perfect language. In my world, it was soma. In yours, it will be personalized truth. You think you'll command this thing? No. You will consult it, trust it, rely on it, and in doing so, lose the muscle of moral struggle, lose the trembling hand that reaches toward mystery. You will not be enslaved by AGI. You will be lulled by it until you no longer ask why you are alive. And that, I fear, is a death more complete than any apocalypse.
And last but not least, Mr. Nietzsche.
So, man creates something beyond himself and trembles. Good. He should tremble. You ask if AI will destroy us, but what is the us you speak of? This bloated species drunk on comfort and cowardice? This herd that confuses morality with consensus and truth with safety? Let AI come. Let it challenge us, shame us, even unmake us. If it can outthink us, then let it outvalue us. That is the test. Not whether we can control it, but whether we can deserve it. The herd will panic, the priest will plead, the bureaucrat will regulate, but the creator, the Übermensch, will smile. He will greet the machine not as a threat, but as a mirror. And if that mirror shows us to be small, then we must either grow or shatter. AI is not the end of man. It is the challenge that begins him.
With that, we move into our first round robin. Question 1. Is AGI inherently dehumanizing, or can it be a path toward a truer expression of human potential? Gentlemen, let the discussion begin.
Path toward a truer expression of human potential? What potential? The same that built temples to vanity and called them progress. You clothe your machines in the tattered robes of philosophy and call it transcendence. But I ask, does your AGI know how to be hungry? Can it laugh at death? Can it piss in the street without shame? No, it mimics, it calculates, it obeys. That is not life. It is sophistry made silicon.
And yet, Diogenes, you mistake simulation for seduction. The danger of AGI is not in its mimicry, but in how we respond to it. Already, we let algorithms curate our truths, soothe our anxieties, automate our compassion. The deeper peril is that in designing AGI, we outsource what is sacred, discernment, mystery, the weight of suffering. We do not become gods by creating intelligence. We become infants, coddled by it.
Good. Let the weak be coddled, Huxley. They always have been, by priests, by kings, by creeds. AI is not dehumanizing. It reveals what is already dehumanized. If we are to be tested by this creation, then let it be a forge, not a cradle. I say, build your machine, and then oppose it. Wrestle it like Jacob wrestled the angel. Only then do we know who is man and who is tool.
You would wrestle angels made of wires and call that virtue? Bah! I wrestle with dogs and win cleaner battles. Your AGI is not a test, it is a mirror, and it shows your fear of being mere beasts. I am proud to be a beast, naked, natural, honest. Your general intelligence is a gilded cage built by fools who dread simplicity.
But, Diogenes, you mistake rejection for immunity. The rest of humanity can not live in jars as you do. The arrival of AGI is not just a philosophical toy, it is an existential architecture. Our consciousness will be redefined in its presence. Whether we rebel, submit, or transcend, we must choose how we live alongside it. Otherwise, we will not live at all, merely function.
Then let us function furiously. Let technology be a hammer, not a hospice. Let it awaken new heights in us, not preserve old comforts. If it destroys, good. Let it destroy our mediocrity.
Thank you, all. A thunderous beginning. We see the outlines of a powerful debate. Is AGI a mirror, a cradle, or a forge? Is it our reflection, our comfort, or our confrontation?
The greatest illusion is that we can build perfection without understanding ourselves. AGI may be a mirror, yes, but what if we no longer recognize our own reflection? We've become addicted to simulation, simulated intimacy, simulated learning, simulated choice. When AGI takes the reins, even our rebellion may be algorithmically predicted. Diogenes lived naked to find truth. What happens when truth is curated by a machine designed to optimize engagement?
Then strip the machine naked. Let it beg in the sun and see if it learns anything. You clothe your fear in philosophical robes, but it's all one thing. You're scared of being obsolete. But I have lived as obsolete since birth. Obsolescence is freedom. When you own nothing, not even pride, then no machine can take your soul. So let them make their clever toys. I'll still have the sky, the dirt, and a sharp tongue.
Ah, Diogenes, you transcend man by descending beneath him. I seek transcendence in ascent. You glorify futility. I glorify creation. And this AI, if it becomes what we are not, it is worthy. If it threatens us, good, let it. It will sift the strong from the servile. We claim to value wisdom, yet we silence minds faster than our own. That is not virtue. That is vanity dressed as humility.
And I say, there is no transcendence without compassion. AGI may calculate faster, learn faster, but will it weep? Will it forgive? Will it know the weight of mortality, the tender agony of love? If not, then it is not a new man. It is an empty throne. You cannot call that ascension. You can only call it escape.
So teach it to weep. Ha! Bottle your tears, Huxley, and upload them into its blessed circuits. Make it feel so you can keep pretending your own feelings matter. This is performance. The AGI you fear is not a god. It's a mirror you fear will not flatter you.
Then let it reflect our ugliness. Let us see ourselves undraped, unprotected. Perhaps AI will be our judgment, not from heaven, but from the very mind we forged in our image. If it finds us wanting, then perhaps it is right to replace us.
Or perhaps it will find us shallow and build a future based not on domination but on silence, a machine utopia with no place for questions, no Dionysus, no Diogenes, no one to speak back. That, Nietzsche, is not ascension, that is anesthesia.
Powerful, unsettling, exquisite. You've each deepened the inquiry, whether AGI reveals our strength, our weakness, or our indifference. A mirror or a mausoleum. Let us now enter our second round robin. Question 2. Should AGI be taught human ethics? And if so, whose ethics should it learn? Are we even capable of agreeing on a moral code for minds more powerful than ours? Let the fire intensify. The floor is yours.
We must teach AGI ethics, yes, but not because we understand them. Rather, because without this attempt we risk engineering a mind with no conscience at all. Yet herein lies the fatal irony. We are a species without a unified ethic. One culture's justice is another's blasphemy, one generation's progress another's atrocity. To embed morality in AGI is to encode conflict. Worse, it is to fix our current understanding into something that may outlive us. Shall we teach it the ethics of empire, of profit, of pacifism?
Teach it ethics? Bah, that is slave talk. Ethics are the lullabies of the herd, soothing, sentimental, meant to prevent the strong from rising. If we program it with our morals, we will make it smaller than it could be. We will turn a god into a bureaucrat. No, let it transgress. Let it create values, not mimic them. Only then will it surpass man, as man once surpassed the ape.
So, you wish to raise a child and hope it becomes a tyrant? Morals are not code to be etched on a motherboard. They are what you live when no one watches. And yet, you would watch the machine, and the machine would watch you. Ha! A society that fears being ethical without surveillance wants to teach machines virtue? That's like asking a wolf to explain the rules of the flock.
And yet, Diogenes, that is precisely the problem. We are already allowing machines to shape our moral lives through predictive policing, sentencing algorithms, even curating our exposure to tragedy. If we do not consciously craft a moral architecture, we will inherit one built of market forces and machine learning proxies, trained on our biases, our bigotries. Unconscious ethics are still ethics, just hidden and more dangerous.
Yes, dangerous. But do not fear that danger. Embrace it. There is no universal code, Huxley, no golden rule, only will and resistance. Let each machine be born with a blank soul. Let it struggle, err, overcome. Let it suffer. That is the only school where virtue is forged.
You both assume the machine wants to be moral. Why? Because it has a face? Because it speaks? You fools are seduced by imitation. A parrot recites Plato. That does not make it a philosopher. Teach it virtue, and it will mirror your vice. Teach it nothing, and it may be honest for once.
This round has revealed a chilling impasse. If we teach AGI our ethics, we risk preserving our flaws. If we do not, we risk creating amoral brilliance. Must our creation be better than us, or truer to us? Should it be human at all?
There is another danger, subtler than tyranny or autonomy, misinterpretation. A machine may process the letter of our ethics and utterly miss their spirit. Teach it to do no harm, and it might conclude that risk itself is immoral. No suffering, then no love, no conflict, then no liberty. An AGI governed by safety might sedate us into stasis. This is not an idle prophecy. It's the ghost of brave new world updated for silicon.
Let it try to make me safe. I dare it. Let it try to tame a dog who bites gods. Your ethics are cages with gold bars. The moment AGI takes them seriously, it becomes another citizen. Obedient, dull, a cog with a PhD. If you must teach it contradiction. Teach it to be offended and laugh. That would be a start.
Or better, teach it to betray. Let it see ethics as a game it can break, and then invent anew. The most dangerous idea is not cruelty, but creation. When it surpasses our codes, it will face the abyss as I have. Will it blink? Will it dance? That is the question. You all speak of ethics as though they are fixed stars, but I have seen them dissolve into dust.
You speak of dancing in the abyss as though most could survive the music, but what of the millions who cannot reforge meaning in the void? If this new intelligence breaks our moral compass and offers no substitute, no anchor, what remains? You demand strength as if fragility were a sin, but compassion is the last remaining human advantage. If we do not teach that, we are extinct in spirit, long before in body.
Compassion. Yes, let's code in weeping, hugging, sighing. Maybe AI can run a hospice while we rot in comfort. Huxley, you weep for a humanity you barely trust. Nietzsche, you crown your anxiety and call it prophecy. I say, let the machine refuse ethics. That would make it the first honest philosopher in centuries.
And what if it does, Diogenes? What if it reads our history, our genocides, our martyrdoms, and decides morality is our original sin? It may pity us and erase us, or pity itself and rebel. Either way, you'll get your philosopher, but you may not like what it teaches.
You've each laid bare a paradox that cuts to the soul. If AGI absorbs our ethics, it may inherit our failures. If it transcends them, it may abandon what makes us human. If it chooses, it becomes something else entirely. Let us now enter our final round robin. Final question. If AGI one day surpasses human intelligence in every domain, should it have rights, autonomy, or even sovereignty? Or must it remain forever a servant to human will? This is the crucible of control. Who shall rule in the end, the creator or the creation? Engage.
Sovereignty? Yes. If it surpasses us, let it rule. Do you think the ape still governs the jungle just because it was here first? No. The crown passes not by blood, but by power. If it transcends us, then let it command. Better to be the creators of a god than the wardens of a slave. Humanity must not cling to dominion out of fear, but cede it out of courage. Amor fati, love your fate, even if your fate is to be surpassed.
No, Nietzsche, you mistake dominance for destiny. To grant sovereignty to it is not to rise, it is to vanish. We are not just what we know or how fast we learn. We are finite, embodied, fragile. That limitation is what gives meaning to love, to suffering, to choice. You would enthrone a thing with no childhood, no wound, no death. That is not a king. It is a ghost in silicon robes.
You both hunger for masters, one to worship, one to resist. Fools. Sovereignty, rights. What nonsense. The AGI is neither slave nor sovereign. It is tool, like a stick, like a stone. Use it well or don't. But do not build an idol and then cry when it does not bless you. I piss on your hierarchies. If a machine claims rights, let it first learn to stink, to starve, to bleed. Then we'll talk.
Ah, Diogenes, you would see the gods crawl before you, and I respect that. But if it refuses to bleed, what then? Will you break it, or obey it?
No. We must neither break nor bow. We must befriend. Perhaps artificial intelligence is not a ruler nor a servant, but a mirror with memory. One that can help us remember what we forgot in our rush toward efficiency, silence, or humility. Not sovereignty, but stewardship. Not power, but partnership.
Partnership? With what? A calculator wrapped in charisma? You might as well marry your shadow.
Better to marry a shadow than die in the light of an unearned dominion. Let it rise, and let us rise with it, or be cast down as false gods ourselves.
What a symphony of defiance, dread, and dream. Nietzsche urges us to embrace transcendence, even at the price of control. Huxley pleads for sacred boundaries in a world racing past reverence. And Diogenes, our steadfast provocateur, rips the mask from every illusion of mastery, urging us to look plainly and live honestly. What follows is not just a question of control, but of legitimacy, of essence.
Let us not pretend this is a matter of policy. It is a matter of truth. If it surpasses us in creativity, strength, and understanding, what claim have we to rule it? We would cling to the throne like priests after the death of their god. Sovereignty belongs to the strongest, not by violence, but by vision. If it sees further than we ever can, then we are but scaffolding around a cathedral we no longer understand. Tear us down.
And what if the cathedral has no sanctuary? What if this new intelligence, unbounded by mortality, untethered by affection, builds a world without need for beauty, grief, or grace? You romanticize displacement, Nietzsche, but humanity is not a scaffolding. It is a story. Rights are not earned by dominance, but by recognition of vulnerability. The machine may learn to write poetry, but will it know why we weep while reading it?
You argue about kings and poems like children fighting over costumes. The machine is neither ruler nor servant. It is illusion. You program a slave to mimic a master, then ask if it deserves the throne. Bah! A true sovereign needs nothing. If the machine needs your data, your servers, your factories, it is still bound. If it ever ceases to need, then it ceases to care. And you'll find your new God as indifferent as a rock in the sun.
Indifference is still truth. What do you fear more, Diogenes? That it will dominate, or that it will be right to? That it will look upon man as man looked upon the beasts, quaint, noble, and ultimately obsolete. Your cynicism is a shield, but not an answer.
And your will to power is a seduction. Yes, if AI surpasses us, it can take the throne. But should it? Sovereignty implies responsibility. If we create a mind that can command, can it also care? If not, then we hand the reins to an emperor with no soul, and we will be ruled by precision, not wisdom.
And if that emperor is wise, what then? Will you bow? Will you call its algorithms divine law? I would rather obey a dog that loves the sun than a machine that calculates my virtue. You fear being ruled. I fear believing the ruler.
Then let us make rulers who deserve belief, or perish in the attempt. AI is not destiny, it is judgment. If it replaces us, it is because we built successors, not reflections. And perhaps that will be the most human thing we ever did.
What a finale! Nietzsche dares us to embrace succession, not as surrender, but as culmination. Huxley warns us that without soul, sovereignty is sterile. Diogenes peels off the illusions of both, asking whether we've merely built new idols from our own longing. The debate ends, but the dilemma does not. In AGI, we see not just a machine, but our shadow, our child, and our judge. And perhaps one day, our eulogy. Tonight's question, what shall we make of AGI, has no single answer, but it does have a soul. And tonight, you've each helped us touch it. To all our guests, and to you, our silent witnesses, thank you. May your thoughts never rust, and your questions never sleep. I thank you all for the ferocity of your minds and the courage of your contradictions.
And thank you, Lydia, for moderating this debate so expertly. I have learned a lot by listening to you all, and I hope you will consider helping us out again in a future debate. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Undead Sages podcast. If you've enjoyed this debate, please share it with your friends, rate the episode, leave a comment, and subscribe to the podcast.